the Consumer Product Safety Commission whistleblower bill, which is right now the gold standard for corporate whistleblower protection, and then the stimulus whistleblower protections, which extended those rights to everyone receiving the $787 billion appropriated last month. And that leads into really sort of the highlight of this morning's awards ceremony, being able to recognize and honor the pioneer for the effort to achieve our ultimate goal, which is not only best practices whistleblower protection, but a coherent, consistent, rational system of free speech laws for the private sector. And the champion who's taken this on for us, when no one else would in Congress, is Congressman Lynn Woolsey. Is Congressman Woolsey. Before I give up the mic, I want to say thanks to Congressman Representative Woolsey. We were nowhere on getting a rational corporate whistleblower law until she took this challenge on 3 years ago. And after intensive preparations with her staff, with Lynn Dundas, who's here today, and with Pete Galvin from the committee, after about 8 months of work, they were ready to hold hearings on the concept. And they held hearings during Whistleblower Week 2 years ago, and what a process it started. From that base, over the last 2 years, we've passed 6 corporate whistleblower laws, all consistent with the Woolsey model, that are becoming, the pattern of success has been so extended that her reform is becoming almost boilerplate as far as how to do it right protecting whistleblowers. It's an amazing phenomenon that she's done in the last 2 years. She's been reinforcing it with a GAO report to give in-depth research supporting the basis for all the nooks and crannies and the nuts and bolts of the legislation. They introduced a best practices bill, H.R. 4047, and we're working currently last month and next week to fine-tune that to be introduced as what is going to be the gold standard for freedom of speech by corporate workers. It's an amazing start, and we're just getting revved up for our partnership with Representative Woolsey, and thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, thank you, and all of you that are interested in whistleblower, and what an esteemed group of people received this today. We need the Senate, so thank heaven Senator McCaskill, and with her energy and her brightness, none of this will happen unless it's bicameral. So I have to tell you, any of you who have either been part of the groups that have helped whistleblowers, or if you're whistleblowers yourselves, what an effort you have put together, and what a group of wonderful people you all are, because it is hard to stand up for what you believe in and stand up for other people so that they can stand up for what they believe in. I sometimes think that every day here as a member of Congress, I'm risking something. Then I realize, well, guess what? I risk nothing except for being reelected. And I happen to work for the 6th Congressional District in California, just north of the Golden Gate Bridge. They get all this. I mean, if I didn't do what I'm doing, then I would risk not being reelected. So I risk nothing while you risk so much. So I thank you for that. The GAO report told us that we need to update our last piece of legislation. We're in the middle of doing that right now. We're working with the Government Accountability Project in doing that. We want to get it out as soon as possible. We're going to reintroduce. I'm hoping we'll have a full committee hearing instead of a subcommittee hearing because it was so well received, the first hearing. And everything through the House now is going through what we call regular order, so we must have the hearings, which I think is good, and then people know what we're talking about. And we can get it to the floor because I can't imagine it's going to have a lot of resistance once we get it together and get it introduced. But we look forward to working with you and with this wonderful group. And now that I have this, I have to even earn it more. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, folks, we're kind of coming full circle with the final award this morning. It's kind of the person who stood up first is going to complete the full circle. It's the office of Congressman Todd Platts. Congressman Platts has been the pioneer of the Whistleblower Protection Act on the House side. And it was an interesting full circle for their office, I think, because I met them through Common Cause. Common Cause had worked with Congressman Platts because he was one of the last names on the petition to free the campaign finance reform. It was Shays, Meehan in the House, McCain-Feingold in the Senate. And thanks to him sticking his neck out for that, they were able to get it over the hump. Then he became the first Republican to sponsor the Whistleblower Protection Act legislation in its current form. Connie Morella had initially introduced it, but she was gone. And we were without a champion for a bipartisan campaign until Todd Platts immediately agreed to assume that responsibility. For the last 5 years, his office has been one of the foundations for our advocacy. We just always know we can turn to them for help on this. He was the floor manager in 2007 when the bill passed 331 to 94 in the House of Representatives. And in 2009, when we saw another opportunity in the stimulus package, the first office that responded was Mr. Platt's office. Now, the context for this was interesting. The leadership of the House of Representatives in their press statements and summaries of the stimulus legislation had said that they were going to be protecting federal employees who blew the whistle on stimulus misspending. But there was nothing in the bill that actually reflected that claim, that assertion. Now, a lot of minority offices at that point would have said, aha, we caught you, other party's fault, they're not playing it straight. When I called up to ask for help, because there was nothing we can do, we're the minority, and then attacked the majority for screwing it up. Not Congressman Platt's office. They said immediately, like within 24 hours, I'm not even sure it was that long, I'll take leadership to try and fix this. They didn't know if they'd get anywhere, but they didn't go on the attack, they didn't point fingers, they just rolled up their sleeves to see if they could fix it. And I don't know what the reason was, but all of a sudden the Democratic offices that just really nothing they could do, all of a sudden they could do it. And in less than a week, the Speaker of the House was issuing press statements that it's inexcusable that we've waited this long to have a Whistleblower Protection Act for federal workers, and of course we're going to do it on the stimulus. Well, the first rock in that political landslide in the House came from leadership by Mr. Platt's office. That's the way they operate.